At the start of the pandemic and lockdown, I was declared by the state of Wisconsin to be an essential worker. I went into my job, washed and sanitized my hands, and put on my personal protective equipment. We all followed strict social distancing and had no contact with the people we served. I work at the DriveThrough at Culver's, a regional fast food restaurant. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not nearly as important as the doctors and nurses directly confronting the coronavirus daily. But drive-thrus are by no means inconsequential. We often think of drive-thrus as simply a tool for convenience, or maybe a little fun if you're looking to get married in Vegas. But this pandemic has proven how vital these windows truly are. To better understand the importance of drive-thru windows, let's first pull up and explore their history. Then, roll down our windows to examine their modern significance, before finally placing our order for the impact of the coronavirus on drive-thru windows. When we think of drive-thrus, it's hard not to think of fast food. But according to Wells Fargo, the very first drive-thrus were actually found in banks. Debuting in the 1930s, these windows weren't only more efficient and convenient, but also offered a safer way to make deposits in a time of rising gang violence. Now clearly, this was a radically new way of interacting with banks, and many people struggled. When the Iowa National Bank opened up its first drive-thru in Des Moines, people drove through the wrong way and even confused bank tellers with parking attendants, giving them tips. The problems got so bad, they needed to make pamphlets explaining how to use the drive-thru. And believe me, some people could still use those today. Nate Barksdale, writing for History.com, explains that in the decade following World War II, the number of cars in the United States doubled to nearly 50 million, which of course meant more traffic and a greater need for this kind of innovation. The first restaurant to take up the mantle was the aptly named In-N-Out Burger in 1948. As these kinds of services continued to expand, people began to envision a world in which they would never have to leave their cars. And they weren't far off. McDonald's reports that nearly 70% of their annual revenue comes from the drive-thru. So it's no wonder Business Insider states that Mickey D's and other fast food chains are pouring millions into improving the quality and efficiency of their window service. Whether it's by adding additional lanes or simplifying menus, saving precious seconds on their drive-thru wait times has become their #1 priority, often at the expense of inside dining areas. McDonald's alone spent $300 million on their drive-thrus in 2018. Yet no matter how much they spend, they'll never be able to make customers realize that we can't hear them when they order from the back seat. And they have yet to figure out a way to make customers have their money ready when they pull up to the window. Clearly, drive-thrus are a major part of any fast food restaurant. But over the past few months, they've become a lifeline for these businesses, becoming their only way of selling food during the pandemic. Additionally, they're an easy way for families to get outside of the house, while also minimizing the direct contact more present in delivery and grocery shopping, according to QSR magazine. In fact, my Culver still gets lines of 20+ cars pouring out into the street daily. But it's the only reason that I and my coworkers still have a job. The same can be said for the nearly 4 million people working in fast food in the United States today, as reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And perhaps most importantly, drive-thrus offer a social connection for people who would otherwise feel isolated staying in their own homes. A sweet elderly couple has been visiting my Culvers every day since I started working there. During the pandemic, they've continued to come, now through the drive-thru, looking happier than ever to be there. My parents found it very amusing when I was deemed an essential worker. They said I should start doing some of that essential work around the house, but I said I didn't feel qualified, as we didn't have a drive-thru window yet. Today, we've served up the history, significance, and implications of the drive-thru window. So let's make sure to thank all of our essential employees for helping us live through and drive through this pandemic.